Hi friends, it's Josie here and you're listening to the Yoga Local podcast, and I'm recording this from our beautiful studio here in Wellingborough. Hopefully one day I will see you here. But for now, I'm just going to have a chit chat about empathy and some strategies that will help us to be more compassionate and kind of lean into some of the teachings of yoga, which remind us that we're pretty much reflections of each other, okay? And we're all part of this one universal energy, and we're all expressions of the same thing. So when we approach situations, circumstances, when we are dealing with people who maybe don't align with our own values or own views, maybe in situations where they've taken a course of action that you don't agree with, there's still that ability in us to empathize and be compassionate from where they're coming from, and really deeply connect on a level which makes them feel seen and heard. Okay, but the cautionary note here is that we don't take on their emotional stuff. We don't become a dumpster for all their emotional baggage. You're there to help them to be seen and validated and heard, not necessarily to agree, to offer advice, but have that desire to really connect with someone from where they're coming from, like stepping into their shoes is a real skill. So we've got a number of strategies that I'm going to walk you through. There's a number of tricky situations that I mentioned in the blog, and some self-care tips, because it's important to know where your boundaries are and not just keep giving yourself to a point where you become depleted, right? You can't help other people if you're depleting your own energy resources. And essentially, practice is going to your daily practice that we commit to on our mats is a way for us to check in on a daily basis as to how your interactions, how your experiences in life are creating an accumulation of maybe different feelings, different thoughts that may be unhelpful, that may be starting to express themselves as tension and dis-ease. So, the sooner that we can start to use our practice to get to know ourselves and how we react and how we respond and how we react and respond to other people, the quicker that we can get ourselves back to a place of balance. So I don't know about you, but I think the world could do with a lot more compassion and understanding, but I get that that's not easy. Some people we just do not want to really be aligning with, and the ultimate goal of yoga is not to align with other people, it's to align with yourself, like your true sense of self. But that's not to deny or diminish other people's experiences and how they feel and how they perceive life. Everyone's coming at life from where they're at. We've all got a load of stuff that's influenced that, a load of conditioning, a load of experiences. So when we start to practice yoga and we recognize that in ourselves, we can recognize that in other people, and not taking on their emotional stuff, but really being able to listen. And that's the first kind of tactic, really, is this deep listening skill that we develop as we get still and silent in our practice. Can we truly deeply listen to someone, not trying to solve the problem, not trying to fix, but just being that person that someone can truly talk to, and you'll be present for them, right? You're not on your phone, you're not distracted, you're in the moment, present, and hearing what they have to say. So deep listening is something that is part of practice. If you cultivate it on a daily basis through your asana practice, through your pranayama practice, through your meditation practice, these are the things that are going to upskill you in life, being more empathetic to even those people that, you know, you struggle with finding any connection with. We can start to find that universalness and that respect. So I think it's you know, really, really important for us all to like think about these as skills, right? Skills for life. Another one is mindfulness, and this is a word that gets thrown around a lot in today's world. You know, be more mindful, and that you can become more empathy. You can have more empathy. So it's about becoming aware, right? Mindfulness is about becoming aware, and when we can be aware of our own emotions and how we become triggered and reactive, and how things in our life we sometimes look back on and think, why did I respond in that way? It may be out of character for ourselves, and we start to notice these things, and then maybe we can empathize in other people when they act out of character, or you know, say something that doesn't resonate with you, that you can take a bigger kind of view on it. And that mindfulness piece is making you aware of your own stuff so that you can be aware of other people's stuff. And I think, my personal opinion is, we're all trying to come from a place of positivity. We're all trying to do our best in life. I think the human nature is that we all want to do our best, but things get in the way, and circumstances happen, and maybe we don't respond in the right ways. Maybe we've had maybe we've had an experience which has made us really steadfast in an opinion or a belief, and those things are hard to shift. And when you come on your mat and you start to notice your own stuff and what things are hard to shift and your own limits, you can maybe see them again in reflected back at you in other people. And then it's like, all right, yeah, you can start to see that connection, which makes for better relationships and more understanding and more peace. And then the other thing that is a big part of practice is non-judgment. And, again, it's one of those catchphrases, don't judge, and it can be overused. But in this case, I just want you to, again, notice that when you're practicing, okay, we can notice our own biases, we can notice our own tendencies, our own preconceived notions. We're creating the space for that to happen. But then it's about leaving those at the door when we want to approach any situation with an open mind, or at least being aware that we're bringing them to the table, and like that they may be influencing your opinion of someone and how much you're going to want to engage with them. It's all, we're complex, aren't we? We're super complex beings, but when we slow down, when we get still, when we listen, when we become more aware and mindful, we get those aha moments. We learn about ourselves, and in learning about ourselves, we start to learn about other people, and then we become able to empathize more and be a bit more compassionate. Okay, how many times have you kind of like been less than your best self in a stressful traffic situation, right? And you see yourself kind of blowing your lid and acting in a way that you think, that isn't you, and then you judge yourself. And then, another time you might have a different mindset, right? You had a different start to your day. You cope with the traffic much better, but you see everyone else around you losing the plot, and then you kind of judge them. So, and then you maybe give yourself a congratulatory pat on the back because you haven't let the situation spin you out. But when we notice it in ourselves, we can recognize it in other people, and then we can be a little bit more understanding and compassionate, and go and yeah, not feel so separate. Okay, not feel so separate from those people and situations and experiences that we maybe want to reject as not us. And in truth, there's always that element of us reflected in other people. So as you become more skilled in your quest for more empathy, and you do become that person that is available, that will take time with people, that will support and not judge and be more mindful, then it may be that we let the boundaries fall away. And so it's important that we set the boundaries as we notice our own level for empathy starting to dwindle. Okay, so again, self-awareness, self-compassion, getting on your mat to see where your current state is, your level of empathy, your level of self-compassion, your level of non-judgment, right? If you can start to arrest anything that's feeling a little off as you're practicing, then you're going to be able to take that forward into your daily experiences. And it's an accumulative effect, right? As we practice, we get better. But there is that danger that if you become that person, that go-to person, which will always listen, then you can end up seriously depleting in your own energy. So make sure you self-reflect and apply a little self-compassion for yourself. And in those times where you have to kind of pull back and go, you know what, this is something that I can't deal with, don't, have that self-compassion for yourself, right? In some situations, you might not be the best person for the job, okay? And it's important to recognize that and maybe guide people to more appropriate resources or people that may have a little bit more in the tank, right? More in the tank to give. So our own level of self-care, our own level of our ability to apply compassion to ourselves really comes into play here. If we're going to be more compassionate and have more empathy for others, we need to be, as always, it's always about the inside job first, so we need to be able to do that. And then another strategy for building our ability to be more compassionate and have more empathy is through the act of selfless service. So when we do things without expectation of any return, it really starts to give you that experience of again, putting yourself in someone else's shoes and having those feelings and those emotions that reinforce just how amazing it is for someone to give of themselves so freely. So look for opportunities to be a helping hand without expecting anything in return. And just start to notice the impact that it has on those around you. And really, there's no such thing as a gift that doesn't return itself in kind. So, you'll be giving of your own time, but what you get back in terms of and even then it's kind of like, don't expect the return, but there naturally is, even in that sense of feeling that you've done something to support somebody in some way. So yeah, the key is to give, but give give freely and not have any expectation in return, and and just see how that comes back to you in spades. Okay, so all these strategies are what I've described in my blog as like yogi superpowers, right? And they really help to up-level who we are. And there's so much emphasis on yoga as about up-leveling our ability to be more flexible or be able to contort our bodies in some way. And like, really, it's such a bigger goal to up-level all aspects of who you are. So how you interact, your level of empathy, how you're compassionate for other people. This is how we, in my opinion, this is how we create a better place for everyone to live, right? This is how we create a better world. It starts with us. We look within, we practice, we see our flaws, we witness our tendencies, we try and improve on the next action, one action at a time, one choice at a time. We start to recognize others or ourselves in others, which gives us that feeling of connection to this idea of universal language, this universal energy that we're all essentially trying to do our best from whatever level of awareness we are coming from. And the more awareness that we build into our life, the more capable we become, the more compassionate we become, kind, all those higher qualities that are so removed from what we tend to see more of, which is people kind of in that state of fear and trying and struggling to maintain a sense of self-importance, of being separate, of trying to kind of build walls around themselves, not sharing, dog eat dog, this whole fight to the top kind of attitude. It's something to contemplate, right? It's something to contemplate. And where are you operating from? What level of awareness? Is it more in ego mind, lower mind? Are you more in the survival mode? Or are you starting to lean into those qualities that are innate to all of us, that can move us towards more compassion, more empathy, and therefore more connection, therefore more joy, then more fulfillment, and then off we go, right? We go into those lofty states of union, yeah? So there's a little bit of a higgledy-piggledy pathway there. The blog is a little bit more linear, and you'll probably really appreciate the little examples that I've given. So, hopefully they give a little bit more of a practical way of coping with certain situations. So I hope that's served you. I hope that has given you something to pause for thought and consider. And if you've got questions, comments, please pop them in the chat or in the comment box or wherever you're seeing this. And and if you're like new and you're starting to think, well, these conversations make sense to me, and I hadn't thought that yoga was anything to do with these kind of deeper, nuanced teachings, and you want to start and you don't know where to start, it's a big, broad tradition. We have got some free tools, some free classes that are all available inside our app, and I will pop the links in the show notes here so that you can access those. Please do, and then or come and join us in class either here in person in Wellingborough, or you can also access them online. Okay, so lots to choose from. Anyway, if I can help any more, get in touch. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye for now.